He has a combination of things that we have never seen.
He can revolutionize the game.
The singular greatest prospect in NBA draft history.
I think everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien.
Be kept in play by Wembanyama. Wembanyama for three. Come on. Wembanyama top, throwing it down.
The league's really in trouble when he comes in.
Victor Wembanyama is probably the most hyped NBA draft prospect since... No. Close, but no. Well, since LeBron, honestly. Wemby seems to be the ultimate NBA unicorn, somehow even more so than other guys he's been compared to, like Porzingis and Chet. He stands at 7 feet 4 inches tall with a wingspan of 8 feet. This is a kid who makes a guy nicknamed the Stifle Tower look small by comparison. But he doesn't just have the measurements, cause the kid can play. He's the complete package, and he really doesn't seem to have a weakness in his game. But in all sports, we've heard of can't miss prospects before. That definitely did miss. So, will Wemby be LeBron? Highly doubt it. But will he be a bust? Also highly doubt it. So, just how good is Victor Wembanyama? Well, the short answer is we won't know until he takes the court for the Spurs. The long answer is probably pretty good, but there's also some concerns. Before we talk about Wemby's game though, let's talk a little bit about who he's been playing against. For the last 3 years, Wemby has been playing in the LNB Pro A, the top basketball league in France. A league that in the grand scheme of European basketball is okay. They aren't bad by any means, but they definitely aren't viewed as being as strong as the leagues in Spain, Greece, or Turkey. Just look at EuroLeague titles. The French league has only ever produced 1 EuroLeague champion. Spain, on the other hand, has 14 winners, Greece has 9, and Turkey has 3. So the competition that Wemby's been facing, far from the best, but also far from the worst. Let's talk about Wemby's game though, and let's get the bad stuff out of the way, because there's really only 2 potential problems. Firstly is his frame. Wemby is listed at 7'4" and between 210 and 230, it depends on the source, and his light frame has been a big source of discussion. It definitely has its upsides. His lower weight means he moves well and has good agility for his size, but many have questioned how he will fare in the post against the NBA's elite centers. Embiid, Jokic, Cat, Bam all tip the scales at over 245 pounds, and Embiid and Jokic are over 280. Now, Wemby's not going to be playing against those guys every single night, but NBA centers are on average much bigger than the centers he's been playing against in Europe. To put it into perspective, there are only 5 players in the French league who had a higher listed weight than the NBA's league average weight for centers. It's believed by many that Wemby's gonna have to put on some pounds if he's gonna survive against the bigger, stronger players of the NBA. But can he? Well, maybe. He is only 19 after all, but most guys who come into the league with his frame aren't exactly shredded a couple years later. Giannis is the exception, but people are already expecting Wemby to be LeBron, so let's not also expect him to be Giannis. But if Wemby can't put on the extra weight, he might struggle to hold up against the NBA big men, and that brings us to our second concern: injuries. Whether it's fair or not to make this assumption, it's been pretty consistent throughout NBA history that players of Wemby's size struggle with injuries. George Mirison, Sean Bradley, Yao Ming, Porzingis, hell, even Chet, who's probably Wemby's best NBA comp, missed his entire rookie season with a broken foot. Even Kevin Durant, who is at least 4 inches shorter and 10 to 20 pounds heavier, has struggled with injuries throughout his career. I don't wish injuries on anyone, but if we just base it off of history, it's more likely than not that Wemby is gonna have some injury struggles in his career. And the thing that really sucks about Wemby's negatives is that they're largely out of his control. He can work as hard as he wants to put on weight, but his body may just not develop that way. And you can take every measure possible to prevent injuries, but they can still strike you at any time. That's the negatives though, but what about the positives? Well, there's a whole bunch of those. Firstly, while his weight is definitely a concern, basketball is still a sport that selects out for height, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Wemby is huge. He stands 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan, meaning good luck getting any shot off over him. He averaged over 3 blocks per game, and even when he isn't blocking your shot, he's definitely altering it.
With the blow by, oh, Wembanyama!
He's got excellent timing and defensive instincts, and one of the most underrated aspects of his game is that he avoids fouling. He averaged only 2 fouls per game despite playing over 30 minutes a night. He's able to stay disciplined and avoid picking up dumb fouls, which is something that a lot of bigs in the NBA struggle with. Looking at you, Cat. In addition to his impressive interior defense, his exceptional agility for his size allows him to hold his own when forced to defend on the perimeter. If he can hold up physically, Wemby is going to be a game-changing defensive presence. And on offense, it just gets even better. In the past 10 years or so in the NBA, we've seen the rise of point centers who can not only score in the post, but can also handle the ball on the perimeter. Hell, arguably the best player in the world right now is a point center, and Wemby is made of that mold. Now, he's never going to be even remotely close to the passer that Jokic is. At best, he's an average playmaker, but his ball handling is incredible for his size. He's a 7'4" center who can face up and attack the basket off the dribble. Think about that for a second. He's 7'4" and can face up and attack the rim. He's 7'4" and he can cross you up and then dunk on you if you're dumb enough to try to block him. He's 7'4" and he can hit step back threes. Step back threes! And he makes it look easy. Pretty sure the man upstairs has made like 4 to 5 guys Wemby size who can actually do that. And in the grand scheme of things, Wemby might be the best at it. But while he's got the perimeter skills, he's also a great traditional big man. Now, I do love me some modern basketball with all the three-pointers and the wide open space and the fast breaks and whatnot. That's all fine. But my secret basketball kink is low post play. I grew up playing center, I can't help it. And I tell you, I could watch Wemby play in the post all day long. He's got great post moves, excellent footwork, he's patient, and he's got one of the smoothest post fadeaways I've ever seen. Oh God, it's beautiful. Seriously, this stuff is my jam. I love this kind of play, and Wemby is so good at it. In addition to his post to mid-range shooting game, he also shows great potential as a three-point shooter.
Step back over Monty Eunice. Drills it. Oh, Wembanyama magnifique.
His jumper is really clean, if somewhat inconsistent. He only shot 27.5% from 3 of this last season in France, which leaves a lot of room for improvement, but he's definitely got a good foundation. And if we look at his free throw shooting, which is generally a really good barometer for overall shooting ability, he's perfectly fine. He shoots 83%. And also, I need to keep saying it because it doesn't sound real. He's 7'4", and he can hit step-back threes. And because he's 7'4", it's borderline impossible to block him. The best you can hope for is just trying to bother him a little bit. Everything about his jumper just looks clean and smooth, and if I were to describe Wemby's offensive game in one word, it's just that, smooth. A lot of big men in the NBA look kind of clumsy and a little bit raw, especially the younger guys without a whole lot of experience. Not Wemby. Everything looks so easy for him out there. He moves as naturally as guys half his size on the perimeter and as well as the most polished big men in the post. And really, that's Wemby's greatest strength, his mobility. Wemby's mobility is genuinely unbelievable for a man his size, and it enhances every aspect of his game. We all remember that viral clip of him missing a 3 and then getting his own putback dunk? Well, it went viral for a reason, because guys that size are not supposed to move like that.
And just once they get used to the physicality of the game, they're able to do certain things. As you see him right there, howling the rock with his step back, his skill set is wow. See what I mean? That's just amazing.
I mentioned before, but on the defensive end, his mobility prevents him from becoming a total liability on the perimeter like so many big men in the NBA are today. His closest comp in the NBA that's actually played, Kristaps Porzingis, is notoriously bad in the pick and roll due to his lack of mobility, something that Wemby doesn't really seem to have a problem with. And on offense, his mobility is basically the reason he has a face-up game. All this is just an analysis though, and like I said at the beginning, we won't know how good he actually is until he takes the court in the NBA. But as one last little bit of info, let's compare him to some other NBA players who starred in Europe. Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic. Keep in mind Wemby's stats from his last season in France. 21.5 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game on 47% shooting from the field, 27.5% from 3 in 32 minutes a game. Porzingis in his last year for Sevilla in Spain averaged 10.5 points, 5 rebounds, and half an assist in 22 minutes per game. 47% shooting from the field and 31% shooting from 3, by the way. Luka Doncic in his last year at Real Madrid averaged 12.8 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 24 minutes per game, shooting 46% from the field and 28% from 3. And Nikola Jokic in his last year in Serbia averaged 16.5 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 3.2 assists in 29.5 minutes per game, shooting 52.5% from the field and 32.6% from 3. So really the only guy who rivaled Wemby is Jokic, who didn't score quite as much but was a little bit more efficient. And I really don't think you could come up with a more apt description of Jokic's game if you tried. Compared to Luka and Porzingis though, he outscored and out-rebounded both of them while shooting comparable percentages from the field, although he did play more minutes per game. So just how good will Wemby be? Honestly, pretty damn good, I think, but let's temper out the expectations a little bit. Like, if he's on the level of Hakeem, his career isn't a failure, Chris Broussard. Like, come on.
If he's Hakeem Olajuwon, he has not met expectations. Okay.
Thanks for watching, guys. This video was written and narrated by Synthetic Sports, so if you enjoyed it, consider checking out my channel. Link is going to be down in the description. Hope to see some of y'all there.